3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done a gaming video on my channel, but today I wanted to talk about Unreal Tournament 4 and Quake Champions, and which one I prefer, why, and which one. First off, you're going to die a lot in either game if you're new to arena shooters. Especially this guy in Unreal Tournament. First points I'll give Unreal Tournament is that Quake definitely takes a very long time to get you connected with a game. Could take a hot minute or 3. But in all fairness, that really is something that can even be beaten by
vote now.
A source port of Quake 3 running on an $80 Android device from Walmart. So it's really pretty pathetic for a modern PC exclusive game to not be able to even match up with a PC game running on a cheap Android. And that really does pain me to say, because I really do think it has a lot of good points that I'll bring up. Something I just have to throw out there right now is Unreal Tournament definitely feels more clunky. Quake feels more fluid, organic, just more right. It feels like it's actually you controlling the game rather than just you pushed a button and the button did something. I don't know how to explain it. It just flows better. It feels better. It just moves better. Unreal Tournament, it kind of reminds me of like Nintendo 64 games. How you would always have to worry about that patch of blocks turning at right angles and shooting at your block and hitting it. It just feels very angle-locked. It doesn't feel as organic and smooth. It feels old and blocky almost, even though it looks fairly modern. It doesn't look great at all. Given that it's been in development for so long, it should look a lot better and feel a lot better than it does. Granted, I could still say that since Unreal Tournament is considered an alpha and Quake past beta, maybe it's unfair of me to compare them. Maybe it's going to be more primitive. In a way, it feels a lot like Serious. But it's also more clunky than Quake running on an Android. Quake 3 Arena. So Quake, I almost want to give Quake the point on this one, because even the 1999 version runs smoother, just less robotically than Unreal Tournament. I feel that Quake rewards you as a player.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. You have lost the match.
However, one thing I will give Unreal Tournament on, in terms of the weapons, one thing that is more satisfying is the sniper over the rail. I've never cared for snipers much in arena shooters,
But you can be sure I'll end
but I'll give it to Unreal Tournament on that one. The sniper feels significantly better. Even though,
I didn't start this, but you
for
can be
some
sure
reason,
I'll end it.
even though it's better than really any gun in Quake, Quake's guns feel better. Simply because you don't have to get that one for it to matter. And in Quake, it feels like it's less about just conveniently spawning in the right place, like Unreal Tournament, and more about knowing where the weapons are. I must also admit that I have a bias towards the Quake soundtrack. That said, I do genuinely enjoy it more than what's in Unreal Tournament. And I only really recall menu music in that one. But the Quake soundtrack is done by Chris Brenna. Even when you suck at Quake, it doesn't feel unfun, unfair, horrendously weighted. Albeit, sometimes you end up on the best of the worst team just conveniently, all the noobs versus all the veterans. Or, you know, your team is just so much better than the guys who literally started, you know, maybe 5 minutes ago. So it seems unbalanced sometimes, especially given how long it takes to find a match. Everyone was freaking out about abilities in this game, but really, if you go into it as if it were Quake 3 Arena, you'll probably do fine. The abilities are things you can, over time, learn to use. They don't really do much for you. I used to kind of think certain characters were overpowered until I got my ass handed to me as those supposedly overpowered characters, just because I underestimated how much of it is simply skill-based. I also feel like I'm someone who remembers the sense of community in online gaming, and I feel like Quake definitely has more of that. Even though I was included in the chat in Unreal Tournament, I didn't feel like I was part of the community. With the id games I do, and I feel like Unreal Tournament 3 and the shutdown of their servers, I felt really ripped off, and I feel like Unreal Tournament 4 still hasn't lived up to that. And even though I can play with bots, I paid for an online multiplayer first-person shooter. And considering Wolfenstein Enemy Territory is one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time, I think it is safe to say that as a developer, I've always preferred id Software. But if you liked Unreal Tournament 2004 more than Quake 3, maybe Unreal Tournament 4 is for you. If you like modern-ish shooters, if you liked the new Doom, you'll probably love Quake Champions. If you really want something that feels old, go ahead and get yourself Unreal Tournament 4. I mean, it's free. There's no harm in trying it. And Quake Champions, I mean, if you liked Quake 3 Arena, I would go for it. I would pay the $20. I already did. If you really never cared for Quake 3 and you still want to try it, wait till it goes free to play. Anyway, that's just my opinion. And let me know in the comments if you feel a different way about each series for a different reason, or if you feel that there's something I didn't mention that I should have, or if you have any fond memories of Wolfenstein Enemy Territory or Unreal Tournament 3, or if you agree with me that the graphics on Unreal Tournament 3 actually looked better than 4. It ran better than 4. The movement was more fluid than 4. And I don't understand why they changed what they changed. And if anyone agrees with me on that or disagrees with me wholeheartedly, please feel free to let me know.
Killing spree!
No!
Killing spree! Lowest common denominator.
Destroy the generator!
Rampage! The Andre brings you tomorrow, today. Covering you.
Red team take
We've captured the forward bunker. Good game!